My son said, "I do," under a chandelier of warm light, and my wife leaned into another man like vows were background music. I didn't recognize her, or maybe I finally did. A Mark Reynolds, 55, small-town accountant. The kind of man people trust with numbers because I don't panic and I don't play games. Evan's wedding was supposed to be simple in the only way rich people can make it simple. Whitmore money, oceanfront estate, ballroom windows facing black water, string lights hung like a promise. My son looked sharp in his suit, proud, nervous, alive in a way that made me remember why you put up with everything else. So the kids get a clean start. Lisa wore a dress she'd been saving for something special. She let me button the clasp in the hotel room earlier, and she smiled at me in the mirror like we were still a team. 30 years of habit can do that, can put a smile on a face like a mask. Brad Carter showed up halfway through the reception like he belonged there. Tall, tan, still wearing that high school quarterback confidence even though it had softened around the edges. The kind of man who shakes your hand too hard and holds eye contact a second too long. I saw Lisa spot him. It wasn't subtle. Her posture changed, shoulders back, chin lifted, that old version of her waking up. She moved across the room before I even registered I'd been left standing with a champagne glass in my hand like a prop. At first, I told myself it was nothing. People talk. Old friends hug. Weddings are chaos. Then she laughed. Too loud, too warm, and touched his forearm like it was normal. Brad leaned in close and Lisa didn't step back. She stepped closer. Her hand slid up his arm and stayed there. Fingers curled like she'd found something familiar and wasn't letting go. Around them, the room kept pretending. Conversations continued in careful tones. Heads turned away after a glance, like everyone had agreed not to make it real. That's how public humiliation works. You're the only one forced to feel it, and everyone else gets to file it under "not my business." Dave Miller found me near the bar. My best friend. He didn't say anything at first, just looked past me toward Lisa and Brad, then back at my face. I kept my expression steady. I did what I've always done. I swallowed it. I stayed calm. I stayed useful. Evan and his new wife were on the dance floor, smiling for cameras, believing the night was sacred. And across the room, my wife made her choice in plain sight. On the one day she should have protected our family without being asked. Something in me shifted with a quiet click, like a ledger closing. I didn't feel rage yet. I felt clarity. And I realized I was watching the end of my marriage happen in real time, under soft lights and ocean air, while everybody pretended the room wasn't tilting. Dave stayed close after that, like he was guarding me from something contagious. "Mark," he said low, eyes cutting toward the far side of the ballroom. "Everybody can see it." "I know," I said. That was the honest part. The rest of me was doing math. Not money math, damage math. Who saw? Who'd talk? How it would land on Evan if this turned into a scene tonight. The DJ called for speeches. I took my place like nothing was wrong. I clapped at the right moments. I smiled when the cameras drifted my way. I listened to my son thank his mother for always believing in love, and felt something cold move through my chest without changing my face. Lisa floated back to our table twice, just long enough to look present. Each time she leaned in to whisper something meaningless. "Isn't this beautiful?" And each time her eyes slid away like she couldn't stand looking at me too long. When the speeches finally ended, I told Dave I needed air. Outside, the porch wrapped around the estate like a wide-open confession booth. The ocean was loud and restless. Wind pushed in hard off the water, carrying salt and storm. The sky had that bruised look. Dark clouds stacked like they were waiting for permission. I stood at the railing and breathed until my heartbeat stopped trying to punch its way out of my throat. My phone buzzed. One text. Unknown number. "She's finally free. Meet me by the service gate at 10. Same place. I read it once. Then again. Slower. Like my eyes were trying to make it untrue. Dave stepped out behind me. He saw my face change. "What?" he asked. I handed him the phone without a word. He read it, then looked up at me like he wanted to smash something on my behalf. "Jesus. It's not for me," I said. He frowned. "What?" "It's for her." The wind hit us harder, snapping the corner of the tent canopy above the porch. Somewhere inside, laughter rose on cue, bright and oblivious. Dave's jaw tightened. "You gonna go in there and—" "No," I said, and the word came out clean, calm, final, because the message wasn't just flirting. It wasn't a drunk mistake or a dance floor accident. It was planning. She's finally free. Like my marriage was already a story they'd finished telling each other. I looked back through the glass doors. Lisa was inside, near the bar again, angled toward Brad like she was aligning herself with gravity. Weeks, I thought. Maybe longer. An exit built behind my back, board by board, while I paid the bills and kept the house steady and believed in the woman I married. Dave watched me, waiting for the explosion. But something else happened instead. I got quiet. Not weak quiet. Not defeated. Focused. I put my phone back in my pocket and stared out at the ocean until the anger settled into a shape I could use. "Get me his number," I told Dave. Dave blinked. "Brad's." I nodded once. "And don't say anything to anyone. Not tonight." He hesitated. "Mark, I'm gonna finish my son's wedding," I said. "Then I'm gonna deal with the rest." And for the first time all night, I meant every word like a promise. We got through the last dance. The sparklers. The send-off. Evan hugged me hard like he knew I was holding something together inside my ribs. Lisa kissed my cheek for the photos. Light touch. Perfect smile. The kind you wear when you're already halfway gone. On the drive home, she talked the way people talk when they're trying to overwrite reality. "Wasn't it gorgeous?" she said. "The ocean, the lights." Evan looked so happy. "Yeah," I said, hands steady on the wheel. She kept going anyway, filling the car with soft words like they could pad the truth. Back at the house, she slipped out of her heels and moved through the kitchen like she still owned the place emotionally. She poured herself water, checked her phone face down when she thought I wasn't looking. Then she turned to me with that practiced innocence. "You're quiet," she said. "Long day." She hummed. Like that explained everything. Like men are simple machines, work, sleep, repeat. I waited until she went upstairs. I listened to the floorboards, the bathroom fan. The bedroom door is closing. Then I went to my office and shut the door behind me. This room has always been my clean place. Bookshelves, filing cabinet, printer that never jams if you treat it right. The kind of space that rewards discipline. I turned on the desk lamp and sat down like I was starting an audit. Because that's what it was. I pulled up our accounts first, checking savings, the line of credit. I didn't snoop. I reviewed it. There's a difference, and I've made a living knowing it. Transactions started popping like bruises. Cash withdrawals that didn't match grocery runs. Gift shop purchases in a town Lisa didn't visit. A hotel charge that hit our card as lodging with no other reason attached. Then the phone logs. Same number repeating. Late nights. Early mornings. Midday calls that are lined up with flower deliveries. I opened the folder I keep in the flower shop: lease, business loan, insurance, tax filings. The stuff she never reads because it's your world, Mark. My name was everywhere. Lease mine. Loan mine. Personal guarantee mine. Lisa's dream business? It existed because I signed the papers and carried the risk while she played artist with roses and ribbon. And there it was in black and white. The life she'd been taking for granted was tied to me harder than she'd ever bothered to notice. I leaned back in my chair and let the quiet settle. Not sadness. Don't panic. Just the first real advantage I'd had all night. Lisa fell asleep fast. Or pretended to. Around 1 in the morning, I heard the soft buzz from her nightstand. The kind of vibration people think won't travel through a quiet house. I waited until her breathing went deep and even. Then I walked into our bedroom like I was walking into a bank after hours. Calm, deliberate, no wasted motion. Her purse sat on the chair where she'd dropped it. Phone on top. Screen dark. I picked it up and used the code I've known for years, our anniversary. The irony didn't sting. It just confirmed what kind of person she'd become. Messages. Brad Carter. Weeks of them. It started harmless on the surface. Crazy seeing you. Still look the same. The kind of lines people use to pretend they're not crossing a line yet. Then it turned. plans, times, little windows of daylight carved out of my life. He won't notice. He's always at work. Meet me after deliveries. Not romance. Logistics. Like cheating was a hobby they scheduled around errands. And then the part that settled in my gut like a stone. Lisa's words about me. Mark's predictable. Mark's boring. He's a good provider, that's it. He won't do anything. Brad fed it, of course. Told her she deserved more. Told her she was wasted in a quiet marriage. The same script men like him have been reading since high school. I didn't shake. I didn't rush. I took photos of the thread, dates, names, the whole timeline. I made sure the shots were clear. I emailed them to myself from her phone, then deleted the sent message and cleared it from trash like I was balancing a register. When I was done, I put the phone back exactly where it had been, at the exact angle, the exact distance from the edge. Lisa rolled over in her sleep and mumbled something soft, like she was still innocent. I stood there for a second, looking down at her, and the last of my doubt drained out of me. This wasn't passion. This was contempt in writing. And now I had it. Dave came by the next night after work. No text first. No, you home. Just his truck in my driveway and a hard knock like he was delivering bad news to a family. When I opened the door, he didn't step inside right away. He looked past me into the house, like he expected Lisa to appear with a smile and a knife. You alone? He asked. Yeah, I said. She's checking inventory at the shop. Dave nodded once and walked in. In his hand was a manila envelope, thick enough to bend. He held it out like a diagnosis. What's that? I asked, even though I already knew. You told me to get his number, he said. I did. And I didn't stop there. I took the envelope, set it on the kitchen table, and slid a finger under the flap. Paper rasped. That sound was louder than it should have been. Photos. Printed. Time-stamped. Lisa's car. Brad's truck. A cheap roadside motel with sun-faded curtains and a sign that hadn't been updated in 20 years. A few shots of them walking in together. A few of them leave, heads down, trying to look normal. No romance. No mystery. Just proof. My face stayed still. But inside, something tightened and locked. Dave watched me like he was waiting for me to crack the table in half. Mark, I'm good, I said. You're not. I said I'm good. I stacked the photos neatly, squared the corners like they were tax documents, and set them back down. My mind moved fast but clean. Divorce was the obvious path. The loud path. The path everyone expects when a man gets humiliated. And it was also the path where she walks into a courthouse, plays wounded, and walks out with a check I'd keep earning. It was the path where lawyers get rich, Evan gets dragged through it, and Lisa gets the clean reset she's been building toward. Free, funded, and able to rewrite the story into Mark drove me away. I looked at Dave. When did you take these? Yesterday, he said. I followed her after she left the shop. She didn't even care enough to hide it, I said. Dave's mouth twisted. What are you gonna do? I didn't answer right away. I stared at the envelope like it was a ledger entry I'd been avoiding for years. Then I said it plain. I'm not racing her to the finish line. Dave blinked. What does that mean? It means I'm not giving her what she wants, I said. No clean break. No dramatic exit. No payday. I tapped the stack of photos once with my knuckle. Evidence is easy. Consequences are an art. Dave exhaled slowly, like he was letting go of his own anger. That sounds cold. It's not cold, I said. It's accurate. I slid the envelope into my briefcase, the same one I use for audits and client meetings, because that's what this had become. An audit of a life I'd built and a woman who thought she could walk away from it with my stability still under her feet. I looked toward the hallway, toward the stairs, toward the room where she slept like she hadn't carved me open in public. I'm done reacting, I said. Now I'm choosing. Monday came gray and flat, like the town knew something was rotting and didn't want to look at it. Lisa left the house humming. Coffee in a travel mug. Hair pinned up. That light, careless energy people get when they think they've already won. She didn't kiss me goodbye. Just breezed past like I was part of the furniture. The second her car turned the corner, I moved. Dave met me behind the flower shop 10 minutes later. No speeches, just that same steady look he'd had since the wedding. Like he was ready to do what needed doing without turning it into drama. The shop smelled like cut stems and sugar water. Bright in the front, cluttered in the back. Lisa's dream, her pride, her identity, and my signature on every document that kept the doors open. I walked straight to the office nook and opened the filing cabinet. Leases, loan statements, vendor accounts, the stuff she'd never understood and never respected. I didn't shove things into a bag like a thief. I gathered what was mine with the same neat hands I use when a client's life is on paper. Dave flipped through the latest statements while I checked the books. "Mark," he said quietly. "What?" He held up a page and tapped a number with his finger. "She's bleeding." I already knew, but seeing it made something settle. The shop wasn't just a hobby. It was a slow leak I'd been patching for years while she called me boring. A few minutes later, her assistant, young, nervous, loyal to Lisa, came in and froze when she saw me. Mr. Reynolds?" she said. "Lisa's keys." "She can't." Right on cue, my phone lit up. Lisa's name. I didn't answer. Through the front window, I saw her pull up fast, park crooked, and march to the door with her purse bouncing against her hip like anger had weight. She jammed the key in, turned, jiggled. I tried again. Nothing. Her face went tight, confused at first. Then I was offended. Then I was scared. She looked through the glass and saw me standing there, calm in her workspace, holding a folder she'd never bothered to read. I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just watched the moment land. The exact second she understood the boring husband she dismissed was also the man who built the ground she'd been standing on. Brad rented a little place off Harbor Road. Fresh paint trying to hide old problems. 2 trucks in the drive that looked like they'd been bought with optimism and paid for with late fees. I didn't park in his driveway. I parked on the street and walked up like I had business there. Because I did. He answered with a beer in his hand. No shirt. That relaxed swagger men wear when they think they're untouchable. His eyes flicked over me. Recognition. Then a smile that didn't reach his face. "Mark Reynolds," he said. "Didn't expect." "I'm not here for expectations," I said. "I'm here for reality." His smile twitched. "This about Lisa?" "It's about you," I said. "And what you think you're signing up for." He leaned against the doorframe like it was a stage. "Man, I'm not trying to." "Save it," I said quietly. "I know about the motel. I know about the service gate text. I know about the calls. I know the dates." That took the air out of him. Not all the way, just enough. His eyes narrowed. "You've been following me?" "No," I said. "I've been watching my wife." He swallowed, then tried to get the power back. "Look, Mark, Lisa's unhappy. You're a good guy, but I don't need your marriage advice," I said. "I need you to understand the math." He scoffed. "Math? Your income is shaky," I said. "You've got debt. You've got a reputation in this town that never really improved after high school. And Lisa, she doesn't own what she thinks she owns." His face hardened. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means her shop lease is in my name," I said. "The loans are tied to me. The accounts are tied to me. The life she's been living is tied to me." He shifted his weight like the porch suddenly wasn't steady. "You think you're getting some romantic escape," I said. "What you're actually getting is a broke woman with a public scandal behind her. And a small town that doesn't forgive and doesn't forget." Brad's jaw worked, searching for a comeback. I stepped closer, still calm. "You want her? Take her. But don't confuse excitement with stability. And don't confuse me with a man who doesn't read the fine print." I turned before he could answer, leaving him standing there doing the same calculation I'd already finished. By Thursday, the whole town had a version of it. That's how coastal places work. The ocean keeps its secrets. People don't. A glance becomes a story. A story becomes a verdict. And if you don't speak up, somebody else will speak for you. Brad chose O'Malley's for his victory lap. I didn't need Dave to tell me. I heard it from a client who just happened to mention Brad was in there running his mouth. I finished my work, closed my laptop, and grabbed the envelope like it was a file I was dropping off. O'Malley's smelled like beer, fryer grease, and old wood soaked in 100 Friday nights. The place went quiet in that small-town way when the wrong person walks in. Like everyone's ears suddenly got better. Brad was at the far end, louder than he needed to be. A little circle around him. A few laughs he didn't earn. Guy's a calculator with legs, he was saying. Doesn't even know his own wife's bin. I walked up to the bar and set the manila envelope down on the counter between us. Flat. Clean. No slam. No theatrics. Brad saw me and tried to grin through it. Well, look who. I pulled the photos out and slid them across the bar top, one by one, like receipts. No speech, just evidence. The bartender's eyes dropped to the timestamps, then to the motel sign, then to Lisa's car. His face changed and so did the room. The laughter died first, then the talking. The chairs stopped moving. Even the jukebox felt too loud. Brad's grin cracked. What's this supposed to? It's supposed to be true, I said. A man 2 stools down leaned forward, squinting like he was reading a headline. Someone behind Brad muttered, "Damn!" Brad's hand twitched like he wanted to sweep the photos away. But he didn't, because a man can bluff in private. He can't bluff in front of witnesses. I looked him in the eye, voice steady. You can call me harmless all you want, but don't lie about what you did. Not here. Brad's throat worked. The room wasn't with him anymore. I gathered the photos back into the envelope, slow and controlled, and tucked it under my arm. As I turned to leave, I felt the town's attention shift. Not pity, not laughter. Respect. And Brad stayed there with his mouth half open, finally realizing that in a place like this, you don't need a courtroom for people to decide what they saw. Lisa came home like she was stepping onto a stage. Not the front door slam kind of homecoming. No screaming, no tears in the driveway. She walked in slow, shoulders set, face arranged. Makeup fixed, hair brushed. The same sweater she wears when she wants to look harmless. She had a purse on her shoulder and a plan in her eyes. I was in the living room with the TV off. Lamp on. Quiet on purpose. I'd learned something this week. Noise is where sloppy men live. Quiet is where control lives. She hovered in the doorway like she still had a vote. "Mark," she said soft. "Can we talk?" I didn't jump. I didn't rush to fill the silence like I used to. I just looked at her. Let her feel what it's like to stand in a room and not be rescued by my patience. She took 2 steps in, then set her phone on the coffee table between us. Screen up. Bright. Too perfect. That's when I saw it. Reflected in the glass, a tiny red dot, and a timer counting. Recording. Of course. She wasn't here to repair anything. She was here to collect a sentence. She wanted me to be angry. She wanted me to say something ugly. I ruined you. I'm going to destroy you. Anything that would play well in a lawyer's office. Anything that would let her tell people she didn't cheat. She escaped. She sat down across from me, hands folded, posture careful, like a witness. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she said, "about what happened at the wedding and the way things have been." I nodded once. Nothing else. Her eyes flicked to the phone, then back to me. She tried again. "I don't want this to get worse. I just want peace. For Evan. For the family." There it was, Evan's name used like a shield. Like she hadn't lit the match at his wedding reception. I leaned forward slightly and tapped the edge of her phone with one finger. "Turn it off," I said. She blinked, like she hadn't expected me to notice. "What?" "Turn it off," I repeated. Same tone, same volume. "Or leave." Her lips parted, then closed. She glanced down at the screen like it offended her. Then she gave me that look she's used for years, the one that says I'm being unreasonable and she's being mature. "I'm recording because you've been acting strange," she said. "I don't feel safe." I let the words hang for a second, just to taste them. Safe. Like I was the threat. Like she wasn't the one who'd been sneaking into motel rooms and grinning through it. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even smile. You feel safe enough to cheat on me. You feel safe enough to lie in my face. But you don't feel safe enough to talk without a microphone. Her jaw tightened. She reached for the phone like she might switch it off. But she didn't. She turned it slightly instead, angling it toward me more. A subtle move. A childish one. Like if it caught my voice from the right direction, the truth would change. I'm not trying to trap you, she said, and her tone got sweeter, thinner. I'm trying to protect myself. You've been retaliating. The locks. The shop. The way you embarrassed Brad. You embarrassed yourself, I said. I just stopped covering for you. Her breath caught. The mask slipped for half a second, and I saw the real Lisa. Angry, offended, furious that reality wasn't bending for her anymore. She leaned forward. You're doing this to punish me. I held her gaze. I'm doing this to end the damage. What damage? She snapped. You're the one making it public. I looked at the phone again. You made it public at Evan's wedding. That was nothing, she said fast. Too fast. People hug. People talk. You're blowing it up because you want to look like the victim. I felt the heat in my chest try to rise. I let it rise. Then I set it back down. Anger isn't a weakness if you can hold it. It's only a weakness if it drives. I stood up, slow, and walked to the window. I didn't pace. I didn't loom over her. I just moved away from the trap she'd set on that table. You want me to say I did this for revenge? I said, still facing the glass. So you can play it for someone and pretend that it cancels what you did. Lisa laughed once. Sharp, bitter. Oh my God. Listen to you. You think you're some mastermind. I turned back to her. No, I think you're sloppy. Her cheeks flushed. I'm sloppy. Yeah, I said. You picked Evan's wedding reception to rub against another man. You let his texts hit my phone. You wrote about me like I was a joke and left it sitting in your purse. You built a whole fantasy on paperwork you never read. She flinched at that, and I watched her realize she'd never been as clever as she thought. She'd been careless, and my calm was making that unbearable. You always think you're better than me, she hissed. I never thought that, I said. I thought we were married. She stood up so fast the phone skittered slightly on the table. Still recording. Still hunting. You want to ruin me, she said, voice climbing. You want me to suffer. I took one step toward the coffee table and picked up the phone. Not yanking, not snapping it in half. Just picking it up like it was an object that didn't deserve power. I held it out to her. If you want to talk, we talk. If you want to build a case, take it to someone else. Her hand shook as she grabbed it. For a moment, she looked like she might cry. Real tears this time. Then pride took over. Pride always took over. You think you've won, she said. I think I'm done, I answered. That line landed on her like a slap because it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't pleading. It wasn't even cruel. It was final. She stormed out, keys in hand, purse swinging. Tires squealed down the street like she could outrun consequences with speed and volume. An hour later, my phone rang. Dave. His voice was clipped, cautious. Mark, you home? Yeah. She got pulled over near the marina, he said. DUI. They took her in. I didn't ask what she blew. I didn't ask if she cried. I didn't ask if she mentioned my name like a weapon. Details don't change outcomes. They just poison your sleep. Okay, I said. Dave waited like he expected me to break. You all right? I looked around the living room, lamp, couch, framed wedding photo on the shelf that suddenly looked like a stranger's life. I'm steady, I said. By the weekend, she was gone. Not a big exit. No dramatic suitcase scene. Just emptier closets, missing toiletries, the faint outline of her things like she'd been erased. She left a note on the counter with 3 sentences that said nothing real. No apology. No ownership. Just blame tucked inside polite words. I threw it away without rereading it. That night, I walked through the house with the lights off, moving room to room like I was checking doors after a storm. Everything looked the same. Same furniture, same dishes, same hallway creaks. But the air was different. No performance. No manipulation. No tense waiting for the next lie. just quiet. Winning doesn't feel like a trophy. It feels like the absence of someone who was draining you and calling it love. I stood in the doorway of my office and listened to the silence until it stopped sounding lonely and started sounding clean. I got consequences. I got respect. I got control. And now I had to live with the kind of peace that arrives after something dies. Cold at first, then honest, then mine.
Subscribe and stay one step ahead of cheaters. And trust me, the next story makes this one look like a fairy tale.